So tonight we're talking about accelerating your brand. So I'm a publicist, been a publicist for many decades, but a publicist cannot promote you if you have a raggedy brand. Okay, so we're going to talk about some of the things about what makes a good brand and what are the markers that the media looks for when they are deciding whether to pick you or someone else. So first of all, why does PR matter? It builds trust immediately. You're vetted by a media outlet. They tell your story rather than you shouting it, telling yourself, someone else tells you. So it's third party endorsement. You got that, right? You got radio, you got TV, you got newspapers. Well, hopefully we still have newspapers the way things are going, and obviously magazines. So we got print and broadcast media and then online media as well. You got Blavity, you got The Rude, you got Madame on the Wire, you got all those kind of things, right? So you have Speakers Magazine, which is print and also online. So, what are the things that the media looks for? So, you have a message, you're a subject matter expert, you are a person that has many years of experience, but you just need to have more exposure so more people know how great you are. How do you amplify that? How do you accelerate that so that more people can hear about you quickly? So, one of the first things is making sure that you have verified training and education. That's going to be a big marker for anything. So, if I'm pitching you to the media, if I'm pitching you to a producer, I can say you're Dr. Such and Such, or you are an attorney, you're Esquire, you are AI. Everybody's everybody's getting AI certified. So yeah, say that. So put that right up front. Your degrees, your certifications, advanced training that matters if you're going to be a subject matter expert. You just can't say, oh, I'm a subject matter expert in A, B, and C. I'm a nutritionist. Well, how are you? Well, I go to the grocery store all the time. That's not going to work. Okay? That's not going to work. The other thing is making sure what my mentor used to say to me, walk with the tiger, meaning that you have those kind of associations or strategic alliances that really speak before you even get in the room. So, say you are sponsored by Delta Airlines, or it is Coca-Cola, or I won't say McDonald's, but some kind of organization, or you're on the board of a big nonprofit, say if it's Cares Mentoring or something like that, or you're part of a association where you are like the Forbes community. Those are markers that kind of say, okay, I don't really know that person, but I know who they're working with. I know the associations that they're working with. Those are markers because then that matters where you're volunteering, what boards you're on. That's very, very important. The other thing is the speaking thing and making sure that you have some kind of speaking experience, some kind of media experience so they can see you, they can hear you, and they can decide whether they want to bring you onto their platform, whether it's their podcast, whether it is their television show. Those are the type of things that they really want to make sure that you have that experience in. And that's just a basic marker. What you don't want to do is have a YouTube channel or have a non existent YouTube channel or have a YouTube channel that's raggedy, meaning that the videos are not good, not lit well, uh, that you have a good presence on there. So you have a decision of what you want to allow on your YouTube channel. So make sure that it's right and you have one and it's branded, meaning that, and I'll go over this in my branding accelerator challenge next week. But when I say branded, making sure that everything across the board is congruent and it's consistent. So your banner across there, your profile picture, your bio, your links, all of those things matters. Let's talk about links for a little bit. If you have you want to get on like a major media platform and your email is such and such Gmail, or God forbid, such and such AOL.com, you need to get a branded email. So mine is Pam@PamPerryPR.com. You could use your name, you could use info, you could use hello, but whatever it is after the at, and then beyond that to the .com should be your website because they will know you are for real. You're not just playing, but you are for real. So you don't have a free Gmail account, you have a branded email. So that's one of the little small markers that's a little bit different. So you want to make sure that any existing media exposure that you have had, that you have leveraged that you have a media page, that let's just give an example. When they want to understand, um, that you have been in such and such newspaper. Hey, Thelma, how are you? If you want to say I'm been in such and such newspaper, okay, well, we need to see the link to that. Those are the type of things you want to make sure that magazines that you've been in, whether it has been online publications you've been in, whether you have been on any kind of outlet that shows you in action. That's really the main thing, but you need to have it on the media page and in the media kit. All right, you need to have an media page on a media kit. I give a good example today. One particular client was a little bit kind of like taken aback that they were asked to speak, and the person said, okay, they agreed to put together a flyer, and they did the flyer and they put it out because this person agreed to speak for their event. But they grabbed any picture that they found on her website or on internet, I don't know, I guess on the website, and put it together, and it wasn't right. It wasn't how she looked this particular time. So I told her that we want to have a dedicated page that shows your bio, that shows your pictures, the current pictures that you want. Because if they go to your website and they can't find, they're going to grab anything. And basically you haven't given them any direction. So you want, mine is pamperrypr.com/bio. They have two pictures they can choose from, and they have two different lengths of bios that they can choose from. So when they say, hey, can you send us some information? You send them that link. And on your website, have it's like, these are the pictures that you download. So more than likely, the page that most people go to on your website is the About page. So on the About page, you have your bio, okay? And then also, too, you can have press approved photos or media approved photos. And maybe 5 or 6 different photos, high resolution, headshots, maybe bust shots, maybe a full shot, maybe a brand shot. But these are the shots that you approve. It's on your About page because think about it, if a producer or an event planner is looking to promote you because you've agreed to be on their show or to be on their stage, what they're going to do is go to your website, go under About, and they're going to snatch whatever they see first. So you want to guide them and give them a direction that yes, this is About, and then there's right under there is either the media photos that are approved, and they can see the thumbnails of the photos because they can figure out which ones, and they can download those. That will avoid them going out on social media, going out on Facebook, picking out up a picture where you were at a party or wherever you were that was not like your best image or your best brand. So you agreed to be at this event. They're promoting it, but they're promoting the wrong brand because you never gave them direction. That's one way. So that's a do and a don't. So yes, do agree to do the events, but also give them, hey, here's a link to my pre-approved photos and my bios of different lengths. So I won't even talk about the bios, how they sound. At that point, I'm going to do that in the Branding Accelerator next week. The other thing is own some media platforms yourself. So Substack is a platform that basically is like, now this particular live is going out into YouTube. If you don't know that Substack will then, we can go live, but it'll also take it and put it on YouTube. YouTube is a channel that I own. I can then take it and put it on my blog that I own. Those are the things where it says own me. Speakers Magazine is at speakersmagazine.com. Take a look at it. Susan Taylor's on the cover this month. And you own that particular site, the blogs, your YouTube channel, your videos. That is own content. And you curate that and you make sure that you use that and you repurpose that. That is excellent. Whether you're going to use, hey, Takesha, how are you? I'm sorry, lady, I didn't call you back. I'm going to call you back, though. If you have time, I'll call you back this evening. Uh, so that's one of the main things. You want to make sure that you own the media. I always say that, media, getting media is great, but you also want to have your own media because there's different types of media. There's paid, there is owned, there's earned, and then there's shared. Okay, shared is things like social media and things like that. Owned is when you own it, like your own website, your own blog. Earned is when I pitch you to a journalist or a producer or editor, and they say okay, then come on. So you've earned that, and then paid. It's a lot of pay to play. A lot of pay to play. That's a whole nother subject for a whole nother time. Even awards are paid to play. Sometimes some of these awards are pay to play. So it's like, okay, I won this award. I had one a couple of weeks ago. Oh, you won this award, ma'am. You're the best person in the world, or I forget what it was. Best marketer of 2026. Dude, 2026 just started. It was just January. And it was like, "Oh, but it's, $750." I was like, "You know nothing about me." No, I'm not that desperate to try and pay for awards. And it does happen. That is, awards are a good marker to have, but when you have to pay for them, it can be kinda shady. Now, I'm not saying, like, paying for an entrance fee. That could be fine, if you're paying to enter into a particular contest or a particular, awards or nomination, things like that, there could be a fine. But paying for the award itself, no, that's not it. So you want those kind of like you are the expert in or the 40 under 40 or those kind of things. Those are markers. And for every award that you get, please issue a press release. I don't care if you don't get any press from it. You still have those, uh, what I would say, it's still out in the internet. And so you can then, when people Google you, they'll find it and it's part of the AI thing too as well. Published works. I'm going to talk about that in the Brain Accelerator. I'm going to have LaShonda Henry talk about a new thing that she's done with books. She's so amazing, as well as courses as well. But published works, whether it's a book, whether it's an ebook, even apps are good, but something that you own that shows your thought leadership in your content. That is so, hey, Priscilla, how are you? That is so important. And, I tell a lot of people Dr. Priscilla is a PhD. If you have a PhD, you have obviously had to do a thesis. Sometimes you can take pieces of that thesis and make a book. And so I said, you're a thought leader. I need to have you have a book of some sort so I can pitch it to the media. That's part of your hook to the media. That's part of the angle. We're going to take pieces of that. You can either make it courses. Takesha talks about that, how you can make courses and do webinars, things like that. That is, please publish works, not just posts on the internet, but actually have something, whether it is an app. I have a client that has an app that gives sales tips all the time. It's just like one of their apps, and it's one of the things where they make money from their app. So that's the other thing. So another marker, even though I talk about how you need to have the degrees and things like that, if you have a personal lived experience, a personal story, a personal brand story. So, say for instance, the person who was on the cover of Speakers Magazine in December, Melody. Melody was, oh my God, she um, was about 400 pounds and she lost weight naturally. Took a long time and she has a story behind it and she looks fabulous. She was on the cover of the magazine. I wonder if I can go get it. Here it is. Ta-da! There she is. There's Melody. So Melody Augustine Roberts, she's on the cover. Now, she's a business person. She's got a great business going, home care, healthcare. But her story about the weight loss and the things that she overcame, whether it was domestic violence and she was homeless and all of that, that personal live story, that brand story, when she tells it from the stage is amazing. Yes, people do wanna know where did she come from, what are her other degrees and things like that, but you cannot take away her story. Her story is really from pain to power, and, she's a millionaire. She's got 90 employees in her business, and really one of the things that she was on New York Times billboard. We had this magazine cover on the New York Times billboard because of her story, her personal story, her basically her firsthand experience of how she overcame. And that is part of your story, a media marker that they love to hear. And they love to hear those hero stories. It's a great story. Obviously, going through it, it was very, very hard. Tyler Perry has a story like that. Yeah, he was homeless. He was living in his car. Oprah was abused. So those are the markers that they look for. So knowing your story. The other thing is testimonials. So we can say how great we are, but what have other people said? So what are the testimonials? Do you have other companies that you've worked with, you spoke to, that you've done work for? What have they said? Do you have those letters? Do you have the documentation on your website? Are they on LinkedIn? I'm going to talk a lot about LinkedIn and the Brand Accelerator Challenge. I love LinkedIn. I love LinkedIn so much. I didn't even realize how many people that I actually connected with on LinkedIn. And this gentleman slid in my DM. I guess it's sliding your DM on LinkedIn. He sent me a message. He says, "Oh my God, I'd love to partner with you. You have 32,000 people on connections on LinkedIn." I said, "Really? You're counting? I don't even count." But the whole point of it is that out of the 32,000, obviously I don't know every one of those people individually, but I do have over 100 testimonials and recommendations. And whenever people say that they love working with me because I help them with their brand and help them get some media exposure, I help them really get clarity in terms of what they're trying to do, help them get their message uh, magnified and monetized, all of that. I said, I love what you're saying. Can you put it on LinkedIn? And the reason why is on LinkedIn you have to be verified. It's kind of like a Google way. You just can't just put a LinkedIn. You can't put your own LinkedIn recommendation up there. It has to come through there. So that's why I always tell people to get recommendation. Then you could take it from LinkedIn and you can put it on your website as well if you want to do that. But it's a great way to really make sure that you have that. So document your results, get the testimonials, put those little stickers as seen in on your website, and then link them to things. So this is the other thing. This is a pet peeve. Don't do this. So just say I was as seen on NBC, ABC, CBS. You see that all the time. Okay, well, whatever. Let me see the story. Let me see the link. Let me see what that is. So don't just say as seen in. You want to click it to go to the story. That's what the media, they're not stupid. It's like anybody could just grab a logo and put it up there. They want to see the story. So if it's been a press release, link it to the press release. That's fine. It was on the ABC affiliate. It's a whole nother thing, but they're on the websites. Fine, you can put that up there, but don't just say it's seen on ABC like you were on ABC News. That ain't right. The other thing that is a real marker that people look at, especially media look at, and they really do because the media is a competitive business. You know, you see that different shows and things like that. Sherry Shepherd, her show got canceled, and there was other shows. There was a show I loved in Atlanta called Sister Circle that got canceled. A lot of the shows I used to put people on, they get canceled. Washington Post, they laid off a lot of people. So the media is really looking for an audience. And they survive off of advertising. Advertising needs eyes and ears. So if you have a lot of eyes and eyeballs coming to your content, that's what they want. Because if they bring you onto their show, that means those eyes and those ears will follow you to their seat, to their stories, and you will retweet the story that they wrote about you, or you will post out whatever show you were on because that is how they get their money. They want people who already have an audience. And you were thinking like, well, if I already got an audience, I don't need to be on their show. Yes, you do, because that's third party validation. That is one of the things that I'm telling you. I have a client that's going to be on Fox 2 next week, and she posts all the time on Instagram, bless her heart, LinkedIn, da, 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 this and that, TikTok. But when she's on Fox 2, which is a Fox station here in Detroit, next Wednesday, people will be tuning in, and that's going to be, oh my God, that's so good. And she's going to be on for 5 seconds of fame, whatever it is, 5 minutes of fame where she's on and she's actually in the studio, and it makes a difference where she's sitting with the reporter, sitting in the studio versus I'm posting on Facebook. Now she can post that she's on Fox 2 on Facebook, obviously, because most people probably won't be watching the noon on Fox 2 next Wednesday, but they will see the link from it, and then they'll see the validation that she was pitched, which we pitched her. The show is going to be about Valentine's Day, about love. Obviously, Valentine's Day is next Saturday, so it's a week from tomorrow. And then it's really has her as a subject matter expert talking about relationships and things like that. So those are the things too. And also too, when you do pitch, when you have a one win, I guess you would say, then you pitch something else. You got someone that said yes. Now we pitch it to print. So she's going to be in a print article as well. So it's snowballs. And those are the things where it's strategic. PR isn't a mystery, it's strategy. And it's really relationship building. That's really, really key. A lot of my friends are journalists. I was in journalism myself. I worked at the Free Press when I first got out of school, but I've always been into the whole newspaper world. I love that, telling stories. But we're in this different world now. We're in content creation, and everybody has their own microphone and they can do all the things, and that's fine. Things are even changing too. In the Brand Accelerator next week, I'm going to be talking about AI. Jay Stone is going to be one of my guest speakers, and she's going to be talking about AI and the AI clones, right? The AI twins and how to create them, how to do them, how to make movies with them. It's some interesting times we're living in right now. And as a publicist has been doing this for decades, we got to roll with it because it's changing. You cannot stay the same. Washington Post can't stay the same because you see what's going to happen. They're going to, bam, we got to get rid of all these people. So you have to stay with the times. You have to learn. And that's what the challenge is. The challenge is really challenging you to think outside the box, to see things, what I need to do differently, what I need to fix. You know, it could be something as simple as your email, or it could be something as simple as your website. Your website doesn't have an opt-in box. I had a client last week. It's like, I'm selling 100 books so far. I said, that's great. I said, do you know who bought those books? He's no. I said, okay, well, we need to know who bought the book so you can continue to market to them for the next thing that you're going to have. When they buy them on Amazon, that's great. But if they bought them from your website and you capture that information, or if he's been on 4 different TV interviews. One of them was an ABC, and the other one, he's going to be on, the ABC network on Sunday, and he was on a PBS one. Your website needs to have a lead capture. It needs to capture the email from that lead for whoever saw you on television. Maybe go to your website. Maybe they won't buy the book right away. Most people see an interview, they're not going to buy the book right away, but they'll go to the website and say, let me check them out. And then maybe at that point, you can capture the email, say, hey, here's a download of my free audiobook, compliments, just give me your email address, I'll send it to you. Simple, but you will not believe how many people do not do that. They do not have a way. They say, well, I have a contact form. A contact form is not a lead form. People come to your website for the first time, they're not trying to contact you. You have to give them something enticing to show them who you are. Like, what's your juice? Give them something that's really good and juicy so that they'll want to come back. And then you continue to do an automated email sequence to them, sharing with them some expertise of what you are known for. That way they can learn to trust you. Trust is the commodity that you want to build. You want to build trust with an audience. PR helps build that trust. Having affinity partners builds that trust. Being in communities builds that trust. There's a lot of things because we're in the AI world and people don't know what to trust. So you wanna build as many markers about who you are and what you stand for. Like I said, I'll go over them really, really quick. The first one is obviously publishing a book. Publishing a book is a really, really good one, but making sure that you have like the verified training, the certifications, making sure that you have speaking experience and media experience. Get some media training too. I had a client, and a lot of my clients are speakers. So they were on a podcast and the podcaster asked one question and they went in for about 15 minutes. And basically, I think the question was, tell me about yourself. Yeah, they were they were 15 minutes in. I was like, we need to stop that. Okay, it's a conversation. So they're so used to being on stage speaking that they can't do a conversation. So basically, when I do media training with people, it's like you need to make it a soundbite and then make it kind of punchy, but no more than a minute to minute and 30. Go back and forth. You can see from the podcaster if they want you to continue, they are not saying another question. But if the podcast is like trying to do this, like I can you shut up so I can ask the next question? That's when you know you're talking too much. And I know sometimes what happens is you've got to practice this because when people are nervous, some people talk a lot and they talk too much. That's just nervousness. But if you practice media, with a media trainer, they'll show you how that you can stop and pause and let the interviewer ask the next question. And the other thing that helps with that is watch really good interviews. Watch Oprah's podcast. See how those conversations go back and forth. They're very, very good. And you can tell when Oprah is like, okay, continue. She does this. Then you continue. But for the most part, let the interview guide. Now, you do have your own talking points you want to get across, but make sure that when you are doing an interview that you pause so that the interviewer can then have a conversation. It's not like a live, like I'm talking to you live. Obviously, I'm doing the full thing. So if you have any questions about your brand, what kind of things you should be doing, what kind of things you should stop doing, like things that you've done, like why hasn't that worked? Put it in chat. I can answer those kind of things. Next week I'm going to be doing, and Thelma, you joined. You're going to be there. Next week I'm going to be doing with a closed group of people, really taking the brands, doing some dissecting, showing people what they need to do, and then really giving them PR opportunities that matches their message. But first, I got to get clarity on that first day, what it is you, who it is you are, what do you do, who are you doing it for, and then your why. I need to know your why because I need to hear the story. Because if I hear the story, then I know what media outlet I can match it with. And that's really the whole point. So I can magnify your message so that I can make sure that it's amplified, that whatever it is that you say that you want to do more in the world, I can match it to the media outlet, whether it is, Speakers Magazine or Today's Purpose Woman or Courageous Woman. Those are just some, those two magazines happen to be really good friends of mine. Or maybe it's another outlet. Maybe it's the ABC affiliate in your hometown. I may know that person. Or it could be a radio station Black Information Network, which is a person there that has a show there. Or it could be Amazon Live. I do Amazon Lives as well. If you're, it's kind of like, HGTV or not HGTV, but it's kind of like what I call it, Pam Perry's Picks, where I talk about your book and I show it and that kind of thing. So that it could be that, or it could be Madame Noir, or it could be The Root. It could be anything, but I need to know the story. So there's so many media outlets. So you want to go where your audience is more likely to be more concentrated, so that you could be the big fish in that pond. So many people. This is so many people. It's like I want to get on CNN. That's like just being in a whole like. Is your audience really there yet? Right? You're trying to get your footing. So I always tell people, let's go with your niche media first, build that up, be the superstar there, and then move on. So with the client that I have on Fox, they've been on Sirius XM Radio. They've been on PBS affiliates. They have been on. Actually, they were on CNN, but it was really really short. So the podcasts give you more time to really get your story out there. When you're on like a television station, it's really short. It's more people, but you can't really explain it as much. That's why I like print. I love print. I love long form stories online. I love magazine features, newspaper features. If you are on the front of a newspaper, that's a big deal. I remember my very, very first front page story that I did for a nonprofit I worked for. It was called The Joy of Jesus. And The Joy of Jesus was a nonprofit that was trying to send kids to camp. And they were just asking people to send these inner city kids to the camp for a week. And I think it was like $99. And we're trying to send all these kids to the camp. Kind of similar to some of what we just did with the Compassion International, right? And so anyway, I called Cassandra Spratling, who was a feature writer at the time at the Detroit Free Press, told her the story, told her the why of the story. What was the why? Why did we want to send these kids to camp? Because the person who was running the organization at that point in time had been doing it for 10 years. He was a child that went to camp when he was a child, and it changed his life. He became a Christian. It changed his whole life from just running the wrong way, became a minister. Just, he won Point of Light Awards. He just was a big person in the community. He said, that was my story, and I want to give that same story to someone else. She loved the story. She found other kids that were alumni of the camp, and it ran as a front page story. I was like, and listen, we sent a lot of kids to camp that summer because of that front page story. And I just remember that it was now the talent that the writer had was just, she's just phenomenal. I mean, she dug in and she did stories. She went and she set a photographer out, all those type of things. That's what a good reporter should do. The same thing when I worked at the Salvation Army. We would have front page stories, obviously during from Thanksgiving to Christmas, we would have different stories, but I had to go and find the stories to pitch. So I would have to go and talk to the people who are in the social services. What are some of the stories that you're hearing? So that they're doing it from a different lens, right? They're doing it to help people, but I'm doing it from a lens like I want to help people too. We need fundraising for the Salvation Army. So I need to hear the stories that how you're helping people so we can tell other people how they can help. And so that's one of the things too with the Salvation Army. Once, they always say bad news travels faster than good news. So one of the times, the Salvation Army has like a bell ringer. They always have a red kettle that they're ringing the bell. Well, somebody stole the person's the kettle. Okay, they stole the kettle. They hijacked the red Salvation Army kettle. Well, I called the news and told them, wrote the story, wrote what happened, and they actually had to go and do the investigation, that kind of thing. And again, we were on the front page. Now that was a bad story that happened to that bell ringer, but we ended up on the front page of the news. Those front page news stories. And then what happens is then it becomes a television story, and then that just rolls. Every media begets other media. So that's what you want to do. And they're kind of competitive. If the Free Press did one, then Detroit News would do one. If ABC did one, then NBC wants to do it. So media begets media. So you want to make sure you do that. The other thing too that I'm going to talk about in the Branding Accelerator Challenge is the people who started that you see right now that are so big. The New York Times bestseller, Valerie Burton is one of my clients. I will then walk you through how she is where she is, how she's been on the Today Show, how she's been in Essence Magazine. Did she start there? No, obviously not. She started with a self-published book. But over the years, strategically, she's been in different places. Some of the places where when she was single, she was in Single Christian Woman. She was in Today's Christian Woman. Those are places that we pitched her and placed her. And she was a good writer, so she would write columns and things like that. So she leaned in on her strengths. There was so many times where she was really close to being on Oprah, and for whatever reason, the producer didn't see that happening, but she's been on the Today Show multiple times. And then also too, one of my other clients, Delatoro McNeil, he's been on a lot of local television, and he did a lot of local television, but he also got on national television. After working that muscle in the local market, then he went into national. And I will tell people too, when you're on these national shows, they ain't paying to fly you to New York. It's got to be on your own dime. And so you fly to New York on your own dime, and you're sitting in the studio maybe for an hour before, and you're on for 7 minutes. Those are the type of things that people don't realize. It's like, well, I had to pay all that money to go there. Well, yeah, because they can get guests all day. And so anyway, so I tell people, I said, if you're going to do a media interview in another city, make sure that you have a speaking engagement when you're there. Make sure that maybe you do some kind of book talk, whether it's in a library or in a bookstore. And then also you do the media interview. So it's like a three-legged prong, a stool. You want to make sure that you do that. You don't just go there for the media interview and you don't do the other two things. All right. So anybody have any questions for me about the brand, about the Branding Accelerator Challenge, which is next week? You go to pamperrypr.com. You go right there and there's a pop-up. You'll see it right there and you can go and register. Monday, we're going to go over the messaging, the clarity of getting your messaging right. I'm going to have everybody pitch so that I can hear it. So I can, by the fifth day, I can really pitch you and match you to the media. So you'll walk out with real media opportunities. Now, will it be CNN? It just depends on how fabulous the story is. But I do have, over the 30 years, media connections everywhere. But I know how to match the right media with the right person. And that way it'll help move the needle for your brand. There's, like I said, we're going over AI. That's just amazing. That part right there, Jay Stone, going over that. We're going over publishing and publishing apps and how to really do audiobooks all in the particular app. We're going over really the main thing about publicity. How do you find media contacts? How do you connect with them? How do you get their attention? That's a big part of media relations, that part right there. You don't have to get on the news because you killed somebody. You get on the news because you want to tell a good story and you want to really be a asset to their audience. Yes, you do want to get on television. You want to monetize your media, and I'll talk about that about how to leverage the media, but you don't want to go on to and pitch the television station or the newspaper, the magazine about, hey, I got this book. I want to tell people about it so I can sell it. That is not going to get them to, that's the advertising department down the street. Okay. That's what they're going to tell you. So that part right there. So any questions? Hey there, Thelma, Takesha, Priscilla. I can't really see all the things here on the Substack. But that's one of the main things too. The other thing too, I'll talk about what you can fix. So I'll actually go through everybody's media. I'll pull them up and that'll be the hot seat part. If you could take it, you could make it. Okay. That's all I'm gonna say. If you could take it, you could make it. So I will tell people like these are the things that you need to fix. I see this immediately. Hey there. Hey Thelma. Oh, so you can know you put it in the chat. So put a question in there if you have a question too. So I saw that you put in you had a question as well. And Substack. Now, Substack is new, and I'm always what they call it, early adopter. So I got on Substack probably before Joy Reid did, but I was on Substack because I love Medium and all those different things. I love to write, so I love to blog. But Substack is so smart, and it will help accelerate your brand if you know how to do it correctly. I do the lives, which then turns into videos, which then goes out as an email. It then gives you little content snippets and artwork. It's so smart. I'm like, oh my God, it does so much work for you. And, doing this, I remember doing a podcast. I don't know if you all remember this years ago on Blog Talk Radio. That was a thing. Okay, that was a thing. And on that Blog Talk Radio, that was before people were really like doing podcasting. But on that particular Blog Talk Radio. That was probably 2007, maybe five. I interviewed Reverend Run, Kirk Franklin, and Tammy Franklin, Yolanda Adams, Damon Wilson, Vanetta McGee. So many people on my Blog Talk Radio show. It was so because basically I was interviewing authors, so T.D. Jakes and people like that, Taffy Dawes. They were my clients. So I was like, okay, if I need to get you out there so I can send this particular podcast to another station, I need to hear the long form of your story. So that's how I started it. It was called the Chocolate Pages Show. Books so good you can eat them. I've always been into books. Books so good you can eat them. So I was always interviewing those type of authors. So now I don't have the Blog Talk Radio. What if I would have stated Blog Talk Radio? Looking crazy. So now I do Amazon Live. And you can only do Amazon Live if you're an Amazon influencer. And the influencer is that you have to have certain markers and certain numbers. How many people do you have on Facebook, Instagram? They even said Twitter, but I use Twitter, but I don't really engage in Twitter. I'm on Blue Sky. So we'll talk about those type of things as well. Like what are the good mediums to use, social media to use for your particular brand? Maybe TikTok is good for you. I have a TikTok. I do some silly stuff on TikTok, but I also do some serious stuff on TikTok. I'm just Pam Perry on TikTok. And also I'll talk about branding names. One of the things about authors and speakers, they are very, how do I say it, creative. So they have ideas all the time and they never stick with anything. So they're always doing different names for different things. So it's like, this name didn't even stick yet, ma'am. I said, let's stick with this. Okay, we're going to change the name. I said, every time you change a name, you're going to have to put new energy and effort and money behind getting that brand some traction. So a brand, if you want to have some traction, stick with it. Stick with the brand. Don't keep changing just because you have a brain fart. I call it brain fart. It's like, stick with it. Stick with the brand. That's one of the things you will see when I talk about the different case studies of the different people. Dr. Geneva is one. She's a vibrant life coach. She's been saying that for about 10 years, but it finally started catching on after about 2 or 3 years. So then people kind of see what she's about. And there's just so many different stories when I can find the ones that have done it right and the ones that are hard-headed. The ones that are hard-headed, they always have to go back to the starting line and start all over again. And they were almost there at the finish line, but then they decide to change. I had one client. Let's make sure you don't know who I'm talking about. They had a great book. The book was traveling with Dennis Kimbrough. I had got endorsements for their book from Les Brown, T.D. Jakes. I mean, the book was good. The book was a title that was great. And they decided that a few years later, they were going to change the title of the book. Keep the same content on the inside, but just change the title. What happened to the equity of the brand of the other book, the original book with the original title? Gone. So that's what the brand equity went back to the starting point and then had to try to get more traction for the new title. At this point, I wasn't his client anymore. I don't know who gave him that advice. He should have stayed with me. But anyway, he changed the title of the book. It wasn't because any copyright. He just had a great idea. Somebody had a great idea to change the title from what it was to something new with the same pages on the inside. Bad idea. So then you gotta redo all that. So if you don't have any questions or anything, I am going to go to brandingacceleratorprogram.com, register. It starts on Monday at 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And we're gonna go live and I'm gonna challenge you. That's why it's called a challenge. But you're gonna be coming out better because of it. Okay. That's why. It's gonna be a little tough love, but listen, you're gonna come out better for it. Somebody gotta tell you. Somebody have to tell you these things. Sometimes people just let you if the people who don't love you don't even tell you what you're doing wrong. Okay. People that love you, it's like, listen, boo, you need to fix that. Back in the old days when we used to wear slips, your mama said, okay, pull your slip up, honey. Your slip is hanging. Your slip is showing. So I'll tell you if your slip is showing. All right. And then if you could take it, you can make it. All right. I'm Pam Perry and I'm out. Talk to you later. You can go to brandingacceleratorprogram.com or go to pamperrypr.com, whichever one you remember. But it'll end up in the same place. All right. God bless. See you next week. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining.